Andariki namaskaramulu, namo namaha, shubhodayam. Today is the 9th day of our sessions of our course on Sanatana Dharma. So far we have completed Vedas and Vedangas and Upanishads, the basics of all these topics. From today onwards, we will have Darshanas from our course academic director, Dr. CSR Prabhu garu. Now we will start with Vande Mataram from Challa Chittibabu garu and then Prarthana by Satyavati ji. Then we will have CSR Prabhu garu to deliver the webinar. So let's have Vande Mataram. Request all of you to stand up and sing Vande Mataram along with Babu.
Kindly all of you mute or listen. Vande Mataram, Vande Mataram, Sujalam Sufalam, Malayaj Sitalam, Tasya Syamalam Mataram, Vande Mataram, Subhajyotsna Pulakitayamini, Pullakusumita Drumadala Sobhini, Suhasini, Sumadhura Bhashini, Sukhadam Varadam Mataram, Vande Mataram, Vande Mataram.
ధన్యవాదములండి చల్లా చిట్టిబాబు గారు. Now let us request Satyavati ji to do Prarthana.
ప్రార్థన చేయమంటారు సార్?
చేయండి.
गणानां त्वा गणपतिगुं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपवस्त्रवस्तमम् ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणान् ब्रह्मणस्पति आनः शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सूदसादनम्। ॐ महागणपतये नमः। प्रणो देवी सरस्वती वाजेभिर्वाजिनीवती धीनावत्यवतु। ॐ महासरस्वत्यै नमः। ॐ असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मामृतं गमय। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। मातृदेवो भव पितृदेवो भव आचार्य देवो भव अतिथि देवो भव। ॐ गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः।
సత్యవతి గారు ధన్యవాదములండి. Now let us request Prabhu garu to start the webinar.
Om Friends, we'll be having an overview discussion about the Darshanas today. We have finished the major topics of the Sanatana Dharma like Vedas, Vedangas, Upanishads. And the next major topic is Darshanas, also known as Upangas. The Vedas have 6 Angas and 6 Upangas. That is why Sangopanga Vedadhyanam. So, in the ancient times, our ancestors, Brahmin scholars, were studying the entire knowledge available in the Vedas along with the Vedangas, Sa-anga, and the Upangas. Upangas are the 6 Darshanas. The Angas are the Vedangas you have already studied. Partly you understood the overview. Siksha, Kalpam, Vyakaranam, Niruktam, Chandas, and Jyotir. So these 6 Vedangas are essential for the understanding of the Vedas, without which you cannot understand even one word, because without grammar, for example, you cannot understand even one word. So Siksha, Kalpam, Vyakaranam. Siksha is basic pronunciation and other things. Kalpa is the procedures, processes involved. And Vyakaranam is the Mukham Vyakaranam, that is the basic prerequisite controlling subject of the entire language and its formats, syntax and the semantics. Vyakaranam, syntax mainly. And Siksha, Kalpam, Vyakaranam, Niruktam. Next immediately is etymology, the semantics of the words, the meaning of the words, the synonyms. It's like dictionary. Siksha, Kalpa, Vyakaran, Nirukta. Chandas is the prosody, poetry, meter, metrics, meters, various types of poetry, meters, rules, like Gayatri Chanda, Anushtup Chandas for the Vedas, not for the secular literature. So we have literature, Vedic literature on one side, which are the Vedas, and we have the non-Vedic or secular literature, that is Laukika, Vaidika and Laukika. Sanskrit literature in various subjects, including, like whatever subject you can imagine, it's there in Sanskrit. That is Laukika Vidya, and the Vedas are the Vaidika Vidya, in which Vaidika Vangmayam, Laukika Vangmayam, both are in Sanskrit, but Vaidika Vangmayam is in Vedic Sanskrit, which is different, around 30% or more different from the normal Sanskrit. Now coming to the Upangas, which are called Darshanas, we have 6 of them as Astika Darshanas and more Nastika Darshanas. Nastika Darshans are Avaidika. They are not considered as Vedic because Veda upholds the existence of God, Ishvara, Paramatma, Parabrahman, whereas the Nastika Darshanas of Buddhist, Jain, Charvaka, Lokayata, etc., they do not accept on one side the existence of God or Ishvara or Brahman or Brahman or Paramatma. On the other side, they do not accept the authority of Vedas. They are heterodox. They are what you call rebel religions like Buddhism, Jainism. They have come out of Sanatana Dharma as rebels, challenging the existence of God Himself, God principle itself, and challenging the authority of the Vedas. But they carry the Dharma with them partly, and yoga also, and they have evolved their own versions of Upasana, and which are mostly same, have common roots, but they differ on the major aspects, on the theism and the authority of the Vedas. Whereas the six darshanas, which are the Astika darshanas or Vedic darshanas, that is the Sankhya, Yoga, you can note down, Sankhya is the first, Yoga is the second, Nyaya is the third, Vaisheshika is fourth, Mimamsa is fifth, and Vedanta is the sixth. So these six darshanas, they uphold the authority of the Vedas, and therefore they are theistic, because the Vedas are theistic. Vedas are accepting the existence of the Creator, Ishvara, and they uphold and they praise and they explain how the creation happens or how the creation is sustained, etc., etc. So that way, it is very enigmatic and interesting to note that the religions like Judaism, Christianity, Islam, they all accept the existence of God, Ishvara, and therefore they are theistic, and therefore they are more closer to Sanatana Dharma, which is very much theistic, Astika, and than the Buddhist and Jain and Charvaka and Lokayata philosophies, which are atheistic. They don't admit the existence of God or Ishvara or Paramatma or anything like that. And but they are close to Sanatana Dharma in the context of Dharma itself. They are called Dharmic religions because both Buddhism, Jainism accept Dharma. So in the framework of Dharma Yoga, which I have developed along with the scholars of various religions, we could see the common factor of Dharma Yoga as the common framework for all religions, including atheistic philosophies or religions. Apart from Buddhist and Jain, which are atheistic religions, we have Charvaka, materialism, Lokayatas, and we have the agnostics, skeptics, in addition to the large atheistic community. So what is important to notice today, 60 to 70% of the people living in the Western Europe or in the United States and Canada, they declare in writing that they are atheistic or agnostic or skeptic, not having any religious denomination. So it is very important to evolve a common framework that will be acceptable to all the people, both theistic and atheistic, and neutral. So the Dharma Yoga common framework, which I have developed, and we wrote a book on that, is capable, is able to find the least common multiple framework, LCM, between around 10 religions we have in the world today. And that is ethics, Dharma, which is not only least common acceptable framework for all religions and atheism and science, but it is also a requirement essentially under the law. The law is nothing but ethics, Dharma. And yoga is also acceptable in its different aspects. At least the physical yoga is acceptable to atheists or materialists, even Charvakas and Lokayatas or Bauddha and Jaina. They all accept yoga as a practical science system of practice for various benefits and results. So Dharma Yoga together is an acceptable minimum common framework, least common multiple framework of all different religions. As you know, in arithmetic, if you have numbers say 3, 9, 27, 81, and so on, what is the least common multiple is 3. That is common for all the numbers. So in the same way, what is common, minimum common for all religions is what I have identified as Dharma Yoga, which is a research topic. We will take it up as a research topic when we start our research topic discussions. Now, the theistic darshanas like Sankhya, Yoga, Dhyaya, Vaiseshika, and Mimamsa and Vedanta, we will cover in the next 3 days, today, tomorrow, and after, to the extent possible for us. Of course, I am not an expert in all the darshanas, but I have adequate knowledge to give you an introduction, an overview of these darshanas to the extent I have studied. And for example, I am not an expert in Mimamsa Darshana, which is a very vast darshana by itself. But whatever little I know, I will convey to you. And that way, I have no authority of Vedanta Darshana also, though I have spent about 50-60 years studying the Vedanta Darshana. And Yoga Darshana, I have spent all my life in Yoga Darshana, though I am not an authority on the Yoga Darshana either. Nobody can be, because it is very advanced and very complex. And so also Sankhya Darshana. But let us try to understand very clearly that all these are the philosophical perspectives. In fact, in Hindi language, the word Darshana means philosophy. Darshan Sahitya, that means philosophical literature. So these 6 darshanas, why the word darshana is used? Because it is a perspective. It is one view and another view, one perspective and another perspective of what? Of the reality of the universe, which is explained in the Vedas. The Vedas contain all knowledge of all subjects. So these 6 different perspectives, which are accepting the authority of the Vedas and the existence of Ishvara, they are giving 6 different perspectives of the Vedic knowledge of the universe. I hope you got this definition. What is Darshana? So now the first in the historical sequence is Kapila, who gave the Sankhya Darshana. We'll discuss that first. Then we'll go to Yoga Darshana, and maybe then we'll go for other darshanas today, tomorrow, day after. But before I start the individual darshanas, let me give you the broad definition of each of these 6 darshanas. Sankhya, which the word literally means Sankhya. Sankhya means number. It means a theory based on numbers. So why is it called based on numbers? Because it is a theory of universe based on 24 tattvas. The principal, the chief or principal agencies or forces or components of nature are known as 24. So how it is, we'll get to know later. So it is based on counting, and therefore it is called Sankhya. And of course, it was having initially no Ishvara in it. That is why it is called Nirishwar Sankhya. But the second part, which came out, evolved later, was Seshwara Sankhya, accepting Ishvara. Though in the first part, there is no Ishvara, only Prakriti and Purusha were there, and later Purusha was personified, so to say, were partially interpreted as Ishvara. That is about Sankhya Darshana. Now, Yoga Darshana, which is closely attached to Sankhya Darshana, because these 6, they are having pairs of 2 to each. Sankhya Yoga is one pair, and Nyaya Vaiseshika is another pair, and Mimamsa Vedanta is another pair. Why they are paired together? They are married together because they have a common link. Each one of the 2 have very strong common links. For example, Sankhya and Yoga are based on the same framework of Purusha and Prakriti. And of course, Yoga is Ishvara, it accepts Ishvara. And that's why it is also known sometimes ephemetically as Seshwara Sankhya. Whereas in pure Sankhya, which is Nirishwara Sankhya, Prakriti and Purusha can be interpreted partly or in some context as Ishvara, but Prakriti cannot be. And suppose Prakriti is also being worshipped nowadays as Shakti, Shaktayas do that. And Yoga is, by definition, it is defining Ishvara and accepting Ishvara and declaring Om, Pranava, as the symbol of Ishvara. Just like Mandukya Upanishad we have seen yesterday. In the same way, in the Yoga Darshan also, Tasya Vachaka Pranavaha, Ishvara's indication is Om, and therefore the upasana of Ishvara is happening through the upasana of Om practice. So this has been explained in detail by our Maharshi Patanjali and the Kapila, Maharshi Kapila Acharya. We all know the word Kapil. We have been hearing so many times the word Kapil, Kapil Dev and this and that, but we never knew what Kapila, who was Kapila. Kapila was one of the avatars of Vishnu. 24 avatars are there, not just 10. 10 are part of the 24. So in the 24 avatars, Kapila Maharshi was born to Devahuti, whom he delivered the first sermon or first lecture of his Sankhya philosophy. And that's a very unique situation that the mother learned from the son. And then finally he performed tapasya and lived in the Ganga Sagar Sangam. If you go to Ganga Sagar Sangam, you'll find Kapila Maharshi, Kapila Muni ashram there even today. Of course, Kapila Muni cannot be found physically, but he can be found in the Sankhya Darshana. And so the story of Ganga Avataranam, Kapila Muni and that horse being tied up and the Sagara's sons died. And then the Bhagiratha brings the entire Ganga Nadi from deep Himalayas, from Gaumukh Glacier on the way to Ganga Sagar Sangamam, where Kapila Muni ashram, and that's how the 64,000 sons of Sagara become liberated upon the very touch, very contact of the Ganga Nadi waters. I'm happy to say that I have traveled all the way from Gaumukh Glacier, where Ganga originates, and to Gangotri, and to Janhavi, and then Bhagirathi. Of course, first Bhagirathi, then Janhavi. Then finally it merges with Alaknanda and Devaprayag to become Ganga, and becomes Ganga for the first time, Rishikesh. I have tracked, I have traced physically. I have been very lucky and fortunate enough that I could travel to all the spots of the steps which Bhagiratha took, along with Ganga behind him, right from the Gaumukh Glacier, where it gets generated as drop by drop, and all the way it goes through Rishikesh, Haridwar, and Kanpur, and Varanasi, and then into Bihar, and then into Bengal. Finally, at Diamond Harbour at Kolkata, it merges into the ocean. I have been to each and every of these spots, and I was thrilled to see, and I am having the blessings of the purity of Ganga Nadi and its merger with the Sagaram, Ganga Sagar Sangamam at Diamond Harbour near Kolkata. I went with, I think, Gautam Mukherjee there, and that's where Kapila Muni lived. And why I'm telling all this is connected with Kapila Muni, who developed the Sankhya Darshana framework. So basically, he looked at the universe as just nature and the Prakriti. You cannot say there is no universe, there is no Prakriti. You can see in front of your eyes the entire universe, the entire Prakriti. So that Prakriti is the fundamental reality. And is it all only Prakriti? Of course, in science or atheism, only Prakriti is there, nothing is there. That's fine. But is Prakriti by itself very intelligent or capable, or everything by itself? Or there is anything which is more advanced or more intelligent and more powerful than Prakriti? So that is how the Kapila gave in Sankhya. There is a second part, that is Purusha. The word Purusha simply means man, but it doesn't mean human being. He is not referring to man as human being, Purusha as a man human being, but he's talking of an intelligent agent which is distinguishable from inert or very dormant power in Prakriti. So he's distinguishing universe into two parts, man and nature, that is Purusha and Prakriti. So the Bhagavad-Gita is also a Sankhya text, it is giving a clear explanation of the nature of Prakriti, what is Prakriti, what is Purusha. So Kapila Muni gave the definition, and Bhagavad-Gita has explained very briefly, saying what is Prakriti. Prakritim Purusham Chaiva Vidyanadi Ubhavapi. Please note that Prakriti and Purusha are Anadi. They have no beginning, they have no end, they are always there. Vikaranscha Gunanscha Vidhi Prakriti Sambhavan. The Vikaras, the transformations, the changes, and Gunas, the Sattva, Rajas, Tamo Gunas, they are in Prakriti. Vikaranscha Gunanscha Vidhi Prakriti Sambhavan. There are Shadbhava Vikaras, birth, growth, maturity, and then weakening, decay, and death. There are 6 Shadbhava Vikaras. Every object in this world, including human body, goes through these 6 Shadbhava Vikaras, and the Vikaras Gudans Cheva, and every body in this world has one of the 3 gunas, or their combinations or mixtures, like Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. So Vikarans Gudans Cheva Vidhi Prakriti Sambhavan Karya Karana Kartrutve Hetu Prakriti Ruchyate. So Prakriti is the cause, Hetu, for karyas, for all activities, and Karana, causes of those Karanas, Karya Karana Kartrutva, the ownership of the doership of those actions. So many actions are happening, the earth is moving, or eyes are leading, and then heart is beating, and moon is moving, and sun is moving, and galaxies are moving. So all this, the cause, the original cause is assigned to Prakriti, nature. Of course, science also is indirectly admitting only Prakriti and nothing else. So, like Wordsworth said, high priest of nature. He declared himself as high priest of nature, which is all the poets, or even science, or even any study, is nothing but being a high priest of nature. So Prakriti, we worship Prakriti. In fact, in Shakteya Marga in West Bengal, Bihar, and many parts of North India, Prakriti is worshipped as Mata, and Lalita Sahasranam also clearly says, Mola Prakriti Avyakta 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 Swarupini. You are the original nature, Mola Prakriti. You are inexpressible, Avyakta, and you are also expressed, Vyakta. So the Vyakta Prakriti is what we see as universe with our 5 senses. What we can see is limited by our 5 senses and our mind. So we can only see that, we cannot see anything else. So Mola Prakriti Avyakta, Vyakta, Vyakta Swarupini. The Prakriti is worshipped and adored and propitiated as Shakti, and or Maya, or Devi, or so many names. We have the entire 1000 names in Lalita Sahasranamam. So Ichha Shakti, Kriya Shakti, Jnana Shakti, combination of that, Parabrahma Swarupini, etc., 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 the Prakriti. So Purusha is the intelligent principle. Now, Prakriti is defined as Karya Karana Kartrutve Hetu Prakriti Ruchyate. Purusha Sukha Dukkhanam Bhoktrutve Hetu Ruchyate. Man, that is I, the self, is just enjoying the results and of the phenomena, processes inside Prakriti. So Karya Karana Kartrutve Hetu Prakriti Ruchyate. Purusha Sukha Dukkhanam Bhoktrutve Hetu Ruchyate. So the enjoyer, feeler, thinker, as Swami Chirmayananda used to say in his lectures, the enjoyer, feeler, thinker, that is Purusha, the intelligent principle. Otherwise, Prakriti is just the blind processes. So science is limiting itself to understand Prakriti and ignoring Purusha. So the intelligent consciousness, which is the fundamental requirement for ability to know, to observe all phenomena, that is being ignored in classical physics, and in quantum physics, it has been acknowledged. Consciousness has been acknowledged in quantum physics to exist as a fundamental reality. And now there's a lot of research being done in the last few decades on consciousness research. Now, for example, when you take entanglement in quantum mechanics, something which happens in one place is affecting another place. How is it possible? Physically, there is no connection. So there is an intelligent principle. The entanglement principle in quantum mechanics is an example of the existence of supraphysical intelligence inside universe, and that is recognized as Purusha. In the Vishnu Sahasranama, Purushaha, Avyayaha, Purushaha, Sakshi, Kshetrajno, Akshara Evacha. So the entire Vishnu Sahasranama, 1,000 names, are explaining about Purusha, and the entire Lalita Sahasranama, 1,000 names, are explaining about Prakriti. Mula Prakriti Avyakta, Vyakta, Vyakta Sarupini. So now the interesting thing is, you can look at the same entity either from this side or from that side, from Mataji's side or from Purusha side. That is, if you look at from Shakti side, then Shakti herself is so known as Parabrahma Swarupini, the unmanifest. In fact, Bhagavad-Gita clearly says, Bhumi Rapo Analo Vayu Kham Mano Buddhirevacha Ahankara Iti Yamme Bhinna Praktirashtadha Aparaya Iyamitas Aparayamitas Tanyam Prakritim Vidhime Param Jiva Bhutam Mahabaho Jayedam Dharite. So the Prakriti itself has two parts, the Apara Prakriti and the Para Prakriti. So the Apara Prakriti, which is mundane or physical, is comprising of Bhumi, Apa, Anala, Vayuhu, Kham, the 5 elements, and Manas, Buddhi, Ahankara. Bhumirapo, Analo, Vayu, Kham, Mano, Buddhire, Vacha, Ahankara, Iti, Yamme, Tinna, Prakriti, Rashtra, Dha. So 8 elements of Prakriti is Apara Prakriti. Apara iyam mitas, Aparayam mitas, Anyam Prakriti Vidhime Param. There is a Para Prakriti. Jivabhutam Mahabaho Yayedam Dharyate Jagat. The power which is holding the creation process, the jivas, that is Para Prakriti, who is known as, through Paravidya, is also known as Parabrahmam, Paramatma. So Para Apara. So the Para Prakriti itself is the Purusha in a way. The word Purusha is described separately in Sankhya Darshana, but it is integrated both ways. You can look at from this way or from this way. So either from mother side or from father side. So both ways. Why I'm calling Purusha father is in the Bhagavad-Gita 11th chapter, Arjuna clearly says, Pitasi lokasya characharasya tamasya vishwasya gurur gariyan. So he declared Narayana as Pita because he is responsible for creation. And the word Pita is used in many other religions. Father, Father in the heavens. It is the same concept as Father, as the creator, and Narayana, Vishnu is the creator. Of course, also known as Krishna in the human avatar as Krishna avatar. And you can look at from this side or from this side. So from the father side, when you look at, so in the Vishwarupa, he is showing his entire universal form as his own. He is not expressing about Prakriti there, but Prakriti is very much inherently there within the Purusha when you look at from the direction of Vishwarupa of the Narayana, Vishnu, Achyuta, Ananta, Govinda. So when you look at from Mataji's side, then Prakriti alone is true, and that is only front end. At the back end is the Purusha. So Prakritim Purusham Cheva Vidyanadi Ubhavapi, they are together. They are not independently there. Unless they are together, there is no creation. There is no universe. That's why in Saundarya Lahari, Shiva Shaktya Yukto Yadi Bhavati. That is, if Shiva was not joined with Shakti, then there is no creation, there is no universe, nothing will happen. Both have to be there. Both are two faces of the same coin, and though they are interpreted differently, they are That's why Ardhanarishvara concept, and both are merged together. And you can look at from this point of view or that point of view. And both, when you look at the literature, the stotras or the Sastra, you can understand both are convergent. They are identical, only the perspective is different. So in Sankhya Darshana, Purusha and Prakriti are designed to be separate and explained as separate principles, but their union is also made very clear. Now coming to the moksha concept. What is moksha in Sankhya? Moksha is to realize that you are Purusha and not Prakriti. Because if you are thinking that you are part of Prakriti, and then you will be obviously suffering various vikaras, gunas, and various effects of sorrow, misery, and experiences in life. So the first sutra of Sankhya Darshana by Kapila says in the first sutra, Trividha Dukkha Nivrittiratyanta Purushartha. The highest human achievement, Purushartha, is nothing but transcending or nivritti, or removing or eliminating Trividha Dukkhas, the Dukkhas, as Buddha also said, Sarvam Dukkham Dukkham. The whole origin of all philosophical discourse and religious motivation comes from the fact that we are in dukkha. If you are not in dukkha, you will never turn into God, never turn to religion, never turn to philosophy. Like a small child, he is not in dukkha, so he will be happily playing. He is not bothered. So because we recognize the dukkhas, trividha dukkhas, what are the trividha dukkhas? Adhidaivika, adhibhautika, and adhyatmika. That's why we have Shanti 3 times, to have the calming down of the dukkha intensity of 3 categories, adhibhautika, adhidaivika, and adhyatmika. So trividha dukkha nivritti atyanta purushartha. Purushartha means your human effort, your achievement. What is it? It is meant for what purpose you are doing everything? You are doing everything only for the purpose of overcoming the 3 dukkhas, miseries, obviously physical miseries, natural miseries, and psychological internal miseries. So even if you have all the money on earth, even if you have all power on, you can possibly overcome to some extent, to a large extent, the adhibhautika dukkhas and adhidaivika dukkhas maybe, which of course is not in your control, cyclone or earthquake or any such thing. These are all not in your control. But even if you have a mechanism of science and technology to encounter or escape or overcome such dukkhas, the third one, the adhyatmika dukkha, cannot be overcome by an external instrument, because it is internal dukkha. The dukkha originating out of ahankaram, mamakaram, ragam, dvesha, kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, and matsarya, and bhaya, which are all inside you. You cannot buy happiness because these things are inside you. You cannot overcome them by using external means, external mechanisms like money or technology. Is possible only through Adhyatma Vidya, the spiritual practice of sadhana, to calm down your emotional upsurges, the negative emotions, the anger, lust, greed, which overpower you, and how to be extremely calm, like Buddha, how to be very, very, very peaceful, come what may. Yasman no dvijate loko, lokan no dvijate chayaha. Whatever happens outside should not disturb you, and whatever you do should not disturb the outside world. Yasman no dvijate loko, no lokan no dvijate cheha. Harsha marsha bhayodvega muktaha yasya chame priyaha. So this calmness, peace is only possible when you overcome adhyatmika dukkhas. So trividha dukkha nivrittiratyanta purushartha. This is the first statement of Sankhya Darshana Sutras written by Kapila Muni. And I will not go into all the sutras, then it takes many weeks, if not months. Finally, I'll tell you the last sutra, Asangoyam Purushaha. So to realize that this Purusha, the man, that is you, is Asanga, is unattached to Prakriti. Because the problem is coming only due to your contact or your merger your what you call identification, false identification with Prakriti, comprising of the Panchabhutas, Trigunas, Shadvikaras, and Mano, Buddhi, Ahankara, all these. When you identify yourself with them, when you get attachment with them, you will be suffering. You will be getting these three dukkhas. Therefore, what is the solution? The solution is to get detached. So, Trividha Dukkha Nivrittiratyanta Purushartha can be achieved by asangatva, satsangatve, nisangatvam, nisangatve, nirmohatvam, nirmohatve, nischalatatvam, nischalatatve, jivan mukti. So those who get Nischala Tattvam will be liberated. They are in liberated state. And how do they get Nischala Tattvam? With Nisangatvam, with detachment. And with detachment will come from Satsangam. What we are doing right now is nothing but Satsangam, Swadhyayam. So that's why there's an order in the Taittiriya Upanishad, in the convocation address. Swadhyaya Pravachanabhyam Ma Pramaditavyam. Don't give up Swadhyaya and Pravachana. Because if you give up, then you will not be able to get satsangam. So satsangatve, nisangatvam, nisangatve, nirmohatvam. Because this attachment is coming due to moha, delusion, obsession, false craze, craving. So nirmohatve, nischalatatvam. When you are able to overcome moha, you will get nischalatatvam. Nischalatatve, jivan mukti. So the objective, I wanted to all of you to understand very clearly, which I did not tell today, till now, is all the 6 darshanas are aiming only at moksha. Please note this very clearly. They are not aiming at ardha, kama, and dharma and all that. They are aiming at moksha only. Of course, they say that they are telling dharma. Adhato dharma vyakhyāsyamaha. That's what Vaiseshika starts with. But dharma for what purpose? Yato abhidaya nishreyasa siddhi sadharmaha. That which leads to abhidaya and nishreyasa moksha. That is dharma. Tadvachanadamnayasya pramanyam. That being the Veda being the word of dharma, it gets the pramanya. Veda pramanya comes from Veda being the word of dharma. This is what Vaiseshika, I'll cover Vaiseshika as a separate day on the 3rd day, because I wrote a book on it after spending 25 years on it. You can read that book, What is Vaiseshika Darshana? So before that, I'm just giving you here the idea of moksha. All the 6 darshanas are aiming at moksha. Of course, even the Buddha, Jaina, Nastik darshanas also aim at moksha, but they don't admit the existence of Ishvara. That is the main problem. And therefore, they do not admit the authority of the Vedas, because Vedas are admitting and accepting and based on the existence of Ishvara. So now the Sankhya Darshana, it finally says, as and when this Purusha realizes he is Asanga, he can exist, or in fact, his nature is independent of Prakriti. Asangoyam Purushaha. So the moment you realize that you are not Prakriti, but you are Purusha, then you are liberated. So that is liberation. The last sutra of Sankhya Darshana talks of liberation as the objective achieved by Asanga, being detached from Prakriti. So the moment you are associated, identified, or connected with Prakriti, you will be suffering birth, growth, so many death and all these problems. But the moment you realize you are not Prakriti, Prakriti Paraha. In fact, in Ashtavakra Samhita, which I will be covering soon, maybe on this Sunday, there after self-realization, which was achieved by Janaka through the instructions given by Ashtavakra, he proclaims, Aho, what a wonder, I have been deluded. Etavantavidam vikalam moheneva vidambitaha. I have been cheated, fooled by moha all these days to identify myself with Prakriti. Prakriti paraha. I am actually beyond Prakriti. Etavantamidam kalam moheneva vidambitaha. I have been fooled, I have been cheated by moha that I am Prakriti, and hence I was suffering all the consequences of sorrow. So the instruction given by Ashtavakra to Janaka, which I'll be covering as a separate lecture on a Sunday, is it starts with telling the aspirant, that is Janaka, that you are not this, what you are not. Neti neti iti vakyataha. You are not this, you are not this, and you are not this, and you are not this. Finally, he realizes what he is, and that is his Purusha. Aho niranjana shanto bodhoham prakrite paraha. I am beyond Prakriti. Etavantamidam kalam mohe naiva vidambitaha. So, asangoyam purushaha, the last sutra of Sankhya Darshana, is when you realize you are unattached, untouched, uncontact, no contact with Prakriti. Asangaha, then you are liberated, you are Purusha, avyaya Purusha Sakshi, Kshetrajno Akshara evacha. So, the nature of Purusha is nothing but Narayana himself. So you are Purusha, not Prakriti, and not the combination of effects of Prakriti on Purusha and so on. So to realize that is moksha according to Sankhya. By the way, even the atheistic darshanas, as I said, Buddha, Jaina, they all aim at moksha only, nirvana they call it. And even the Charvaka and Lokayata, they also aim at moksha, but they give a very lopsided interpretation. According to Charvaka, if you die, then you get moksha automatically. So that's not the case. Both Buddhist, Jain, Hindu, and many traditions accept that you have a rebirth, and it's based on karma. So it's not that, if you die, you get moksha straight. Then everybody might as well commit suicide and die. So this is a Charvaka philosophy of moksha, whereas the theistic darshanas, they take a different view of moksha. Each darshana, by the way, each darshana gives a different perspective, not only about the universe, but also about moksha. What is moksha? The darshana gives its own different, unique perspective as against the other darshanas. And as it also gives the different perspective of the universe and reality as against other darshanas. Now, this is about Sankhya Darshana. Now, the processes involved, Sankhya Darshana is silent on the processes involved in becoming detached, in identifying yourself with Purusha and not Prakriti. So, the processes involved are explained in the Yoga Darshana. That's why Sankhya and Yoga go together. They form a couple, like Nyaya and Vaisheshika go together. Like Nyaya is logic, mathematics, and Vaisheshika is physics. Without mathematics, I cannot make it. And Mimamsa and Vedanta go together. Mimamsa is based upon the nature of the Veda as given for the performance of various Karmakanda. And after the performance of Karmakanda, what is that you want to achieve? Obviously, you want to achieve the moksha, that is jnana. Sarvam karma akilam partha, jnane parisamapyat. So, the jnana kanda is Vedanta. So, karma kanda, jnana kanda, both are Shruti based. That is, jnana kanda is Upanishad based, karma kanda is Samhita, Brahmana based. The yajna kanda is very complex. In fact, it is not possible for modern people to perform all those yajnas, maybe except one very simple Agnihotra. And those other karma kandas are so complex and so expensive and so elaborate that only very few people, very rich people, or emperors and kings can perform. Now, coming to back to the Sankhya Yoga couple, the Yoga Darshana takes a different perspective. I will start with the perspective of Yoga Darshana since we have a lot of time today. Otherwise, I was planning to cover later, but anyway, I have time, so I'll cover Yoga Darshana now. Sankhya Darshana is completed, and Yoga Darshana, it starts with Adhato, Adha Yoga Anushasanam. Now I shall define the yoga system. Patanjali Muni, in time sequence, comes after Sankhya. That is how Sankhya and Yoga go together. Immediately after Sankhya, Yoga Darshana of Patanjali comes up, and Patanjali has explained the processes involved in realization of the self, which is yoga. Yogas chittavritti nirodhaha tada drashtu swarupe avasthanam vrittisarupitaratra. Now, as Sankhya said, asangoyam purushaha. This purusha is obviously drashta. So the observer, who is this purusha, is nothing but observer. As Ashtavakra also says to Janaka, you are the observer, you are not the observed. You have observed earth, you are not the earth. You have observed the Akasha, you are not Akasha. You have observed the Apa, you are not Apa. Na Prithvi, na Jalam, na Agni, na Esham Sakshinam Atmanam Vidhi Muktaya. You are the Sakshi, you are the observer. Please realize this for moksha purpose. So Ashtavakra said this, and same thing here in a different way is being told by Patanjali in a more deeper and more systematic Sutrakara. The Patanjali is a Sutrakara. The entire Yoga Darshana. A lot of people think Patanjali himself was the originator of yoga. Like Ramdev told one day, everybody thinks Ramdev himself is the originator of the yoga system. So Ramdev tells others, no, I am not the originator. Patanjali is the originator. And that is also not true, because when Patanjali created the Yoga Sutras, he did not create everything on his own. He only summarized the existing yoga practices in the world, which were existing for a long time before him, right from the Vedas. The Vedas themselves have referred to the yogic practices, and I have written down the Veda mantras in Yajurveda, which are referring to the yoga system. When I was a student in 1970s, and later in around 2000, when I examined the Svetasvedra Upanishad, those mantras in the Svetasvedra Upanishad are nothing but which I extracted from Yajurveda on the yoga system. So the Upanishads, I realized at that point of time that the Upanishads are derived from the Veda Samhita mantras only. And Bhagavad-Gita is derived from the Upanishads. Brahma Sutras are derived from the Upanishads, as summarized. And now coming back to the Yoga Darshana, what Ashtavakra told, that you are the observer and not the observed. Drashta, you are the drashta. So that's what Patanjali is saying. Drashta, the drashtu swarupe avasthanam. Who is this drashta? What is his swarupam? What is his true nature? Drashta means I. You, I, everyone. The drashta, the observer, who is that drashta and what is swarupam is not known, because drashta is getting carried away, is entangled, is deluded, is carried away with drishyam only. Yogas chittavritti nirodhaha tada drashtu swarupe avasthanam. The reason that why he is getting carried away with the drishyam is because he is indulging himself too much into the chittavrittis. So chittavrittis are the drishyams, causing the phenomena inside you, which are causing the identification, false identification of drashta with drishyam, are nothing but the chittavritti. They are the culprits. That's why you have to stop them. Yogas chittavritti nirodhaha. Yoga is the process of arresting the chittavrittis. So otherwise, what is happening? Vritti sarupyam idaratra. All other times, except when they are arrested, which is a state of yoga, in which you are drashtu swarupa, you are in yourself only at that time. All other times, vritti sarupyam idaratra, you are identifying similarity or identification with the vrittis themselves. You see what I mean? You see, like there are three instances I will tell you about this. One is the instance of a tiger cub being grown along with all the goats. A small tiger cub was grown into a goat, in the sense it was grown along with a herd of goats or sheep, and then it thought that it itself is also one of them, goat only. Then it was shouting like a goat, and all that. It didn't know that it was a tiger, until one real tiger came, old tiger, and told that, what are you shouting as ma? You are not a goat. You are a tiger. You should shout like a tiger, roar like a tiger. He said, no, 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 I'm not tiger. I am a goat. Then the old tiger, no, no, come with me, takes it to a water pond and shows, see, I am a tiger. You are also tiger. But you are behaving like a goat. Then it realizes, oh, I am not a goat. I am a tiger. The moment it realizes it's a tiger, it is already tiger. So similarly, Jiva is already Shiva, but not realizing that is Shiva. This is the Advaita Siddhanta, main code. So because of the Chitta Vrittis, because of all kinds of thought process, all kinds of mental modifications, identifying with those objects which are coming as Chitta Vrittis. I'll give you a second example which pertains to me only. I was invited to participate in some Somayagam in some place in Hyderabad, and all the organizers were Maharashtrians. And I was sitting there, though I don't know Marathi fully, I can understand. I was also started feeling like I'm also Maharashtrian. And after some time, I realized that what is this I'm doing? I'm not a Maharashtrian. And every day this was happening for many days. Finally, I just decided to quit and identify, assert my identity. So that is how, similarly, third story is about the king and his son. The king took his son to the forest along with his army and did a lot of hunting. And by the evening, they were returning. Then they found the son is missing. So they searched and searched, they could not find him. So finally, they gave up. They went back to the capital city. After a long time, around 30 years, they found a man in the forest who had some features like the lost prince, king's son. So they went and verified. They brought him to the CCMB in Hyderabad and verified and confirmed that his DNA is the same as the king's DNA matching. So he is the prince. Then they told him, look, now it is confirmed that you are the prince who was lost 30 years ago. Now you come and become the king. He said, no, 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 no. How can I'm a tribal man. I'm a hunter. I live in the forest. I kill animals and eat. How can I become the king? It's impossible. No, 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 no. He was refusing to accept that he is the king. So the question arises in Vedanta, when will he become the king? He is already the king. So when he realizes and accepts that he is the kinghood and he exercises his kinghood, he is the king. So in the same way, the Chittavrittis are getting, deluding you, you're carrying away without knowing who you are. Swarupa Nishtha is not there. Chittavritti Nirodha Tada Drashtu Swarupe Avasthanam Vritti Sarupya Mitaratra. So all the time he is getting carried away with vrittis. And how to control those Chittavrittis? Nirodha, Chittavritti Nirodha. Abhyasa Vairagya Abhyam Tan Nirodha. Abhyasa is practice and Vairagya is detachment. It is dispassion. Tatra Sthitao Yatno Abhyasaha. Abhyasa is continuous practice, continuous effort. Tatu Dirghakala Nayantarya Satkara Sevito Dridhabhumihi. Even that for a long time will become foundational strong if the practice is performed without break. Dirghakala Nairantarya Satkara Sevito Dridhabhumihi. So that is the Abhyasa practice, and Vairagya is Drishta Anusravika Vishaya Vitrushnasya Vashikara Sanya Vairagyam. Vairagyam is defined as conquest of all desires, of objects, heard, seen, unseen, unheard. Drishta Anusravika Vishaya Vitrushnasya Vashikara Sanya Vairagyam. Tat Param Purushakhyate Gunavaitrishyam. So Vairagyam leads to Parama Purusha Akhyati, the self-realization, God realization. So Abhyasa and Vairagya are the prerequisite requirements. And within Abhyasa comes Ashtanga Yoga, Yamana Yamasana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi, Ashtavangani. So the practice aspect, starting with Yamas and Niyamas, the ethical and moral principles, the essential and desirable. The Yamas are the essential, unaffordable to be given up even for 1 second. Those 5 principles, Satya, Ahimsa, Brahmacharya, Asteya, Parigraha. These are 5 essential, fundamental, foundational, civilizational principles which are called yamas, which are approved and accepted across the globe, across all darshanas, across all cultures and all civilizations. And they become the core foundation of law. What is law? Law is nothing but the yamas. And same thing is expressed as commandments in Bible or in the Hammurabi Code or even in Islam or even elsewhere in one form or the other. Like ahimsa is elaborately explained in the scriptures of Sanatana Dharma and also Buddhist and Jain scriptures, whereas in the Bible it is reduced to a crude statement saying thou shalt not kill. It is the same principle, but in a crude state. That means not only, you should not kill, but you can do everything else. Is that correct? Can you torment? Can you injure? Can you hurt? They don't talk. They simply say you don't kill. So that is the difference between the Sanatana Dharma scriptures and the Middle Eastern prophetic religions scriptures. They are very crude. They talk of a very primitive civilization, and they talk very basic things which are in a very crude manner. Similarly, brahmacharyam. Without brahmacharyam, there is no possibility of a healthy society, and adultery is a crime, even in law. So, whereas in Bible, it is simply said, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife. So you can do anything else except coveting the neighbor's wife. So the deep understanding is missing, but in principle they exist. Because without these 5 principles of yamas, there is no civilizational behavior possible for human society. And the niyamas are desirable, more advanced principles. Shaucha, Santosha, Tapas, Swadhyaya, Isvara, Pranidhana. Purity, satisfaction, and austerity, and good study, and surrender to Ishvara. So Ishvara, surrender to Ishvara is possible only if you accept Ishvara. And that is theism. And Bhagavad-Gita, Sarvadharman Parityajya, Mam Ekam Sharanam Vrajaham Tva Sarvapapebhyo Mokshayishyam. So these 5 principles are advanced, more they are desirable rather than essential, whereas 5 principles of yamas are essential, non-negotiable, universal, sarvabhaumatvat. So they have been declared as Krita, Karita, Anumodita, Ananta, Phala. Any abrogation of these 5 principles of Yama, Niyamas, Satya, Ahimsa, Brahmacharya will result in a backlash which cannot be stopped. Ananta Phala. So Krita, Karita, Anumodita. If you tell a lie, or if you make another person tell a lie, or if you approve another person tells a lie, they are equally culpable. Similarly, if you commit violence, or you make others commit violence, or you are approving when others commit violence, they are all equally culpable. Krita, Karita, Anumodita, Ananta Phala. They will have a backlash because one violence leads to another violence, which leads to another violence. One lie will result in another lie and another lie and another lie. So there's a backlash, continuous enhancement and the backlash. So that's why it is better to stop in the beginning itself. So these are the 5 fundamental principles of yama, and the desirable principles of niyamas: Shaucha, Santosha, Tapas, Swadhyaya, Isvara, Pranidhana. Then comes the procedural, practical aspects of yoga, the asana. So though Patanjali defined asana as Sthira Sukham Asanam, that is Sthiram Sukham Asanam, to be able to sit long time without disturbance, without any wavering of the position. That will be possible only if your body is very fit. So for that fitness, we have a large number of asanas. And health also. Without your health and fitness, you cannot sit in meditation for hours together. Because in Sthiram Sukham Asanam, it has been defined in some of the yoga texts as Sthiram is minimum 2.5 hours. Can you sit 2.5 hours in Padmasanam without motion? If you can do it, then you have conquered the asana stage. Of course, half an hour in modern times, Kali Yugam, half an hour itself is more than enough. So, Sthiram Sukhamasanam Tato Dvandvena Abhighataha. You'll reach a stage where you will not be affected by the extremities of heat or cold or comfort or discomfort, etc., etc. So asana sthirata, asana sthirata, that is asana siddhi, is possible or understood to be achieved only when you are able to sit without movement for a long time. You can easily observe it is impossible to sit for you even for 5 minutes without moving. You will be continuously moving. So only asana practitioners for a long time, Dirghakala Nirantarya Satkara Sevito Dridhabhumihi, they will achieve long-term stable asana positions. And to achieve those 4 static asanas, Padmasana, Siddhasana, Vajrasana, and so we practice a large number of other asanas. Around 100, 150 I was able to practice. And therefore, the asana practice is an essential part of yoga, and mostly in the Western world, yoga means they think only asanas. They don't understand that yoga is much beyond. So after the asana is successfully achieved, then we go to pranayama, which is the regulation of the prana. That is how the prana can be regulated through breathing, and how you can achieve the goals of pranayama, which is conquering the rajoguna and reaching the sattva guna, and therefore be able to concentrate on dharana. Dharana sucha yogyata manasaha. So tatakshiyate prakashavaranam. So pranayama removes the obstructions in the aura by clearing the pranic body, and it will result in the capability of deep concentration, which is dharana. Deshabandhas chittasya dharana. Before that, pratyahara is there, which is withdrawal from external world into yourself in detail. So the pranayama is a process of inhalation, retention, and exhalation in different ratios, starting with 1:1, going to 1:2:1, 1:4:2, and so on. With unit 1 as 5 seconds, it will take many years to reach an advanced stage. I have gone through intensive pranayama training from my gurus. My first guru of Hatha Yoga was Surya Raghav Dikshitlu. I prostrate to him. And next, he took me to advanced yoga guru, Swami Silananda Bharti. I prostrate to him because of his kindness and compassion. I'm able to achieve advanced levels in yoga and pranayama. And then that leads to samadhi also. So there will be kampanam, svedanam, utthanam, and the kundalini jagri, which results in later dharana, dhyana, samadhi, and all put together is called samyama, trayamekatra samyama. And performing samyama on an object will lead to the knowledge of that object. The siddhis will come. And finally, the Atma Sakshatkaram in Samadhi. Samadhi is also of different types. Dharana is defined as Deshabandha Chittasya Dharana, and Dhyana is defined as Pratyekatanata Dhyanam. Continuous flow of mental energy is called Dhyanam. And Samadhi is Swarupa Shunyameva Samadhi, absorption in deep meditation. Deep meditation results in Samadhi stage, which is deep absorption into the self. So Atma Sakshatkaram will happen in Samadhi, Nirvikalpa Samadhi. In fact, Ramakrishna Parahamsa is also declared to have achieved Nirvikalpa Samadhi. You can see his pictures. He is standing with his hands like this, one hand here and one hand there. He is in Samadhi, trance. So bliss, ecstasy. So once you achieve that, you are liberated. You are in experience of the self, and you will be able to see the universal self. And once you are able to see the universal self, yourself as everything. Sarvabhutasthamaatmanam, sarvabhutani cha atmani, ikshate yoga yuktatma, sarvatra samadarshinaha. The Bhagavad-Gita, 6th chapter, is explaining the entire yoga system, starting with Abhyasa and Vairagya as the basic requirements, going into Asana, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. Pranayama has been referred in the 4th chapter of Bhagavad-Gita as one of the yajnas, apane juhpati pranam, prane apanam tatha pare, pranapana gati ruddha, pranayama parayana. So the yoga is described not only in the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, which we take as the Yoga Darshana, on which I gave many lectures. You can see my name in YouTube and see the Yoga Darshana lectures with the IIT Bombay Alumni Association. Then it is also defined, declared, described in the Vedas themselves with the root word yuj. Yunjate manavuta yunjate diyo vipra viprasya brahataha vipaschitaha vihotra vahe vairavidek in devasya savitu parishtati. So from the root yuj, used in the Rig Veda, Yajurveda, mainly in Yajurveda, you can find the origins of yoga in the Vedas. Then in the Upanishads, the Kathopanishad talks of Adhyatma Yogeneva, Adhyatma Yoga. Then the Yoga Upanishads, there are around 20 Yoga Upanishads. Yoga Kundalya Upanishad, Yoga Chudamani Upanishad, Yoga Tattva Upanishad, Nada Bindu Upanishad. And so on and so forth. We will be covering some of them later. I gave some lectures on Yoga Upanishads also in the past. So the yoga system on which I have spent most of my life is the Yoga Darshana as a whole. Patanjali Yoga Sutras are the mainstay, no doubt, but they are not the only stay. We have the Bhagavad-Gita as a Yoga Shastra. A lot of you people may not be knowing that Bhagavad-Gita itself is a Yoga Shastra. That's why at the end it is mentioned, Iti Srimad Bhagavad-Gita Su Upanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre. That is Yoga Shastra. Apart from being Brahma Vidya and Upanishad itself, it is a summary of the Upanishads. I will be covering Bhagavad-Gita lectures later after I finish the Darshanas lecture and Viman Shastra lecture. So the Bhagavad-Gita, which I knew by heart completely by the age of 8, thanks to my mother, now I am able to quote and give lectures after I understood the Sanskrit grammar at the age of 12, Panini, Sashtadhyayi, thanks to the Panini Mahavidyalaya branches operating in Hyderabad, Secunderabad. And today I am able to teach all this because of my grasp over Bhagavad Gita on one side, Panini's grammar Sanskrit on the other side, and yoga practice on the third side. So now, so now the Yoga Darshana, apart from the Vedas themselves, the Yoga Upanishads, and also the Bhagavad Gita, there are many other yoga texts which form part of Yoga Darshana. We'll be going detailed in our 1 month, last 1 month of 3-month course. So the Hatha Yoga Pradipika is the last, which was written around 1000 years ago by Swatma Rama Yogendra. We prostrate to him. He was a Telugu speaking scholar who wrote the Hatha Yoga Pradipika, which is a text, standard text for Hatha Yoga. Then we also have other texts written by great personalities like Gorakhnath, Gorakhna Samhita, Goraksh Samhita, and Hatratnavali, and so on. And his guru Matsyendranath, on whose name Matsendrasana is there, the Matsendrasana. All the Nath Sampradaya, 11 Navanathas, 9 Nathas were there, starting with Adinatha Shiva himself. So on Shiva's name, Shiva Samhita, which is a conversation between Shiva and Parvati, the entire yoga system has been explained. As you know, the Parvati, who was the daughter of King of Himalayas, Himavanta, was given the instruction of yoga practice by Shiva himself in the Amarnath cave, where she got transformed from an ordinary human being into the Shiva's consort, which is Adi Parashakti's manifestation, Durga. So that transformation took place through her own yogic practices as instructed by Lord Shiva himself. That is Shiva Samhita, which is recorded much later in the recent times. but the contents were from the original conversation between Shiva and Parvati. So these are some of the great yogic texts in the Yoga Darshana. So I gave a very, very brief top bird's eye view of Sankhya Darshana and Yoga Darshana. I'll stop here now and take question and answers, and tomorrow we will cover the Nyaya Darshana, Vaisheshika Darshana, and day after tomorrow we will cover the Mimamsa Darshana and Vedanta Darshana, or maybe first we will cover this and then I'll see tomorrow. So I'll stop here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prabhu Garu. It is a very useful and very informative, and also a lot of all our participants have giving the messages that they are enjoying and also getting a lot of information from today's lecture. And one question from Ramanitala is, could you please explain difference between Ramakrishna Paramahamsa Moksha versus Buddha Moksha?
Okay, now I will explain to the extent I understand, because I have not met Buddha nor I have met Ramakrishna. To the extent I understand, I will tell you. Moksha is one and the same. Okay. Now in Buddhism, it is called Nirvanam. The word Nirvanam again is not new. It is there in Bhagavad-Gita itself. Brahma Nirvanam. The word Brahma Nirvanam is there in Bhagavad-Gita itself. Sante Brahma Nirvanam. So, Labhante Brahma Nirvanam. They achieve Brahma Nirvanam. So now, according to my understanding, moksha is one and the same. Whosoever be the Acharya, whether it is Ramakrishna or whether it is Buddha or Vivekananda or Jaina or Mahavira. I have also got some exposure to Jainism. I went to the birth spot of Mahavira. And the only difference is mainly on the existence of Ishvara. In Buddhism, they don't admit the existence of Ishvara, whereas in Sanatana Dharma, we admit the existence of Ishvara. So other than that, there is no difference between, according to me, because they accept Dharma, they accept Yoga, they accept Moksha, which is Nirvana. They accept everything except the existence of Ishvara. That too only in the original Buddhism, the Mahayana Buddhism, they don't accept in principle. But in practice, they also accept that also, because I went to Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka is supposed to be practicing Hinayana Buddhism, where Buddha is only a teacher, not God. But there in Sri Lanka, I saw all the Buddhists worshipping Brahma, Vishnu, and all the Hindu gods. Then I was wondering, what is this? I went to Japan. In Japan, they are worshipping Buddha as God, Mahayana Buddhism. And in Hinduism, we have observed Buddha as one of the avatars of Vishnu himself. So I think this difference is superficial. Essentially, it is the same. Next question.
Okay. Self-anistha. Could you explain this term? Please tell them. Tell that term.
Atmanistha. Atmanistha means being in yourself. Being established in yourself. Because that is Atma. Atma jnana jagat bhati atma jnana nabhasate. If you are established in the self, you will not see duality or multiplicity of the universe. You will see everything you as yourself. Sarvabhutastham atmanam sarvabhutani cha atmani ikshate yoga yuktatma sarvatra samadarshinaha. That is Atmanistha. Sarvabhutastham atmanam sarvabhutani cha atmani ikshate yoga yuktatma sarvatra samadarshinaha. That is self-realization.
Okay, those who want to ask questions, raise your hands. Please. We have another 5 minutes. Yeah. Venkateshwar Garu.
Namaskaram Acharya. My fundamental question is, when we have Upanishads which talks about Brahman, what is the relevance of this Darshanalu?
No. You see, the Darshanas came after the Upanishads. You see, it is like the rishis, like Kapila and Patanjali, and it is Sankhya and Yoga, and then Gautama for Nyaya and Kanada for Vaiseshika, then Jaimini of Mimamsa Sutras, and Vyasa, Badarayana for Vedanta Sutras, Brahma Sutras. They wrote these sutras as summarization of the respective philosophical systems as existed during and before their own time. Are you following what I'm saying? So the Brahma Sutras, which form the core of Vedanta Darshana, they're summarizing the philosophical content of the Upanishads as Vedanta Darshana. You understand?
Yes.
And the Mimamsa Darshana, written by Jaimini as Mimamsa Sutras, they are summarizing the philosophical perspective of the Karma Kanda given in the Vedas. And similarly, the Vaiseshika Sutras written by Kanada are giving the physics perspective given in the Vedas. And the Gautama's Nyaya Sutras are giving the logic perspective, proof, and validity mechanisms as he understood, as required in the Vedas, found in the Vedas. Vedas means a repository of entire all knowledge of all subjects. So somebody is giving one perspective, another perspective, subject wise. You understood now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
One last question is this Astika Darshanam, Buddhism, Charvaka, and also part of Vedas, as I understood. The fundamental crux of our issue is existence of Brahman, but when they are opposing the existence of Brahman, still they are part of Vedantas. How do we see this?
No. They are not part of our Vedas. That is not true. I told you very clearly, you are getting confused.
Oh.
They are outside the Vedic system. That's why they are not recognized as Hinduism. See, what has happened is that the 6 darshanas which I have quoted, only 6, Sankhya, Yoga, Nyaya, Vaiseshika, Mimamsa, and Vedanta. These 6 are Astika darshanas. They accept the existence of Ishvara. And therefore they are Vedic and they are Hindu because they are accepting the authority of the Vedas. The other fellows, Buddhist, Jain, Charvaka, Lokayata, and others, they are outside. They are not considered as Hindus or Sanatana Dharma for this reason only. They are not Astika, they are Nastikas. They not only don't recognize the existence of God or Ishvara or Brahman, they in fact oppose. They want to say that there is no Ishvara. And therefore, they want to dismiss the authority of the Vedas. That's where the trouble started. They means not in Buddha himself didn't do that. But later on, various scholars came out with all this kind of things. That's why Adi Shankaracharya defeated them by proof in the arguments, not by war.
Yes.
So they finally got dissolved at that time. But again, they came up. But again, at that time, only within India, they were defeated, not outside India.
I think Mandana Mishra, the debate is same. I think.
No, Mandana Mishra is not a Buddhist. Mandana Mishra is a Karmakanda specialist, Mimamsa specialist. So he was upholding that Karmakanda is superior to Jnana, which is he got defeated with Shankaracharya by accepting that Jnana is superior to Karma.
Jnana is superior.
And therefore he became the Shankaracharya, the Sureshwaracharya of Sringeri Shankar Mat was none other than Mandana Mishra himself, right?
Mandana Mishra. And is Samadhi, Moksha both are same?
No. Moksha is a long, permanent process. Samadhi is a mechanism. It is a temporary phenomenon to reach self-realization. Samadhi is one of the yoga angas, 8 angas, last anga. Like Pranayama, Dharana, Jhana. Samadhi is one of the yoga angas. Next question.
Okay, Gautamji. On 1 minute. Unmute. Okay.
Sir, namaskar, sir.
No,
Sir, this the scientists, I mean, it's a group of scientists, you tell, are they putting some kind of philosophy within themselves? Is it similar to Charvaka that the life ends in death, and that means death is equal to moksha? They also say that we are doing a lot of discovery. So we are achieving kind of, level of concentration by which new truths are coming out. Maybe it is physical, it is from the physics, external world, but new truths are coming out. It proves that we are achieving that level of concentration. So why do you require samadhi? Why do you require moksha when we ends in life and end some life in the moksha? This becomes very difficult to counter argue that we are achieving. A lot of changes are happening throughout the world by our discoveries. We do not.
I'll answer that. Mute your mic. I think there's a lot of noise. I'll answer a question. Mute your mic. Okay. Okay. See, scientific discoveries are coming no doubt. Hello, please mute your mics.
1 minute.
Scientific discoveries are coming. That does not mean you don't require moksha. Because moksha is nothing to do with scientific discoveries. Moksha is a psychological phenomenon inside the human personality. It is not concerning with the laws of physics. Do you understand? So moksha is something to do with the individual own liberation. Because as Prahlada told his father, you have conquered the whole world, you have so many powers, you have so many discoveries, so many technologies, but you are not able to be at peace. You see, Gautam Mukherjee, you should tell them, why is it that there is no peace in this world today? There is a continuous strife and turmoil, like this war, going on, and it may become nuclear war also. So indirectly, this so-called modern science itself has created this situation. Again, nuclear war means the end of human life and life on earth. So what is the use of your science and technology when you are going to destroy yourself? By yourself, you kill yourself. That's why in the Ishavasya Upanishad, they live in darkness, who are Atma Harojana, they are self-destructive people. It has been mentioned, even in Bhagavad-Gita, they have explained such psychology. You are developing technologies based on some of the discoveries which are detrimental to the very existence of human race. What is the point? You are killing yourself. Why is it happening? Because you have no control of your thoughts. You think Putin can do deep meditation and enter samadhi? Or Zelensky or Biden? They're all fools. They cannot calm their mind even for 1 second. So, moksha is something to do with the internal mechanisms of the mind and calmness and peace and attitude. And once you realize the self-realization that you are everything, then you will not try to kill the other person. You will not do wars like what are happening today. So you understood my answer? I'll explain to you in more detail if you want separately.
Okay, I think
Next.
now we have crossed the time of 8 o'clock, but there is one more person who wants to ask a question. Varaprasad, would you like to take that question?
Yes, yes. All questions I get.
Yeah, Varaprasad.
Namaste,
Unmute your-
Guruji.
Yeah.
This is regarding Bhagavad-Gita. Hello.
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
This is regarding Bhagavad-Gita. Actually, the narration by Sanjaya to Dhritarashtra, there is two schools of thought. One saying that it started on the day Bhishma fell, and he started telling it. Is that correct, sir?
No, that is Vishnu Sahasranam. That is different. So that is different. Bhagavad Gita happened much earlier, no? Before the war started. What is all this they're talking? Before the war started, Bhagavad Gita happened.
Okay, sir. Thank you. My doubt is cleared.
Okay, one more question on the chat is Buddha is incarnation of Vishnu. Why Adi Shankaracharya criticized Buddhism?
No, Buddhism is not what Buddha told. Buddhism came much later. After the death of Buddha, hundreds of years passed. Now, as per the old dates, Buddha was around 5th century BC. And Adi Shankara is around 8th century AD. That is old date. But my study and many other study, it is proved that it is wrong. Because if Shankaracharya belonged to 8th century AD, then he should have encountered Christians and Buddhists. And apart from the Buddhists, he should have encountered Christians and Muslims also. Because in Kerala itself, all are Christians. Even by 8th century AD, a lot of Christianity existed. He never encountered any Christians. In the Shankar Vijayam, in his life history, there was no reference to any single Christian or Muslim or Jew in the life of Shankaracharya. And according to the traditional calculations of time period by the Shankar Mats, they are giving the names of the Shankaracharyas starting from Adi Shankara till today, one by one, going backwards from now to back. They are giving a date of around 499 BC for Shankaracharya. And accordingly, if you shift Buddha, and also there are many other evidences, now Buddha is going to 1900 BC. And of course, all other dates will be automatically shifted. So between Buddha and Shankaracharya, there is a huge gap of around 1400 years. So during that period, lot of scholars came out with lot of theories. That is what became Buddhism, giving Shunyavada and then Madhyamikavada and so on. Nagarjuna, all these people were there. They are not Buddha. Buddha never gave any theory. He just gave a doctrine of compassion, daya, karuna, and therefore don't kill animals and so on. That is fine. But these various theories, they were resulting in nihilism. They were resulting in all kinds of nonsense, and even scams and scandals were happening in the Buddha viharas, in their monasteries. So things became very bad, even by the time of Shankaracharya. And Buddha was referred. Shankaracharya himself made a reference to Buddha as Bhagavan. I have seen that with my own eyes. Bhagavan ityaha, Bhagavan said this. And then, of course, he clarified and declared that this is not according to the Vedas. So the only criticism Shankaracharya had for Buddha was some of the statements he made were not according to the Veda. And that's why he contradicted only some of those statements, but not everything, not entire Buddhism. He called him Bhagavan. So he defeated the Buddhist theories which came after Buddha. In fact, Buddha himself was not a Nastika. He never attacked the Vedas directly. He never claimed that the Vedas authority should not be accepted because he himself was a Hindu. He was brought up Vedas study, Vedas Jainam he did. He studied yoga, he studied everything. That's why he taught yoga, he taught dharma. In fact, his father asked him, "What are you teaching?" He said, "I am teaching dharma." So he is not a Buddhist. Buddha is not a Buddhist, or his father was not a Buddhist, so to say. They were very much Hindu as much as you and me, and he propagated dharma.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Now let's have Prarthana and then close. Lakshmanji, can you do Prarthana for us?
అందరికీ నమస్కారం. ఉచ్చారణలో తప్పులుంటే మన్నించండి.
Go ahead.
శాంతి మంత్రం. ఓం స్వస్తి ప్రజాభ్యః పరిపాలయంతాం న్యాయేన మార్గేణ మహీం మహిషాః గోబ్రాహ్మణేభ్యः శుభమస్తు నిత్యం సమస్తలోకాః సుఖినో భవంతు. ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्। ॐ पूर्णमिदं पूर्णमदः पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमावशिष्यते वशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। स्वस्ति।
Thank you, Lakshman Garu. Now let us do Janaganamana. Challa Chitka Garu. Where are you?
Yeah. Bhagavad.
Yeah. Okay. I just want to highlight.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंधु गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उज्ज्वल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे जय हिंद।
Thank you, Challa Chitka Garu. The video was off.
Yeah, I forgot to switch it on.